Grandma said Uncle will be home soon and be good while I'm gone. I carried her lunch pail to the car and waved them goodbye. Rosita and Rosario rushed down the stairs to wave too. One evening, while Grandma was at work, Uncle asked us, "Want to go to the movies?" "Yes, yes," we readily said. We hurriedly washed the dishes and tidied up the kitchen. We quickly put on our jackets and rushed out the door into the car. Uncle dropped us off at the neighborhood theater after giving each of us a quarter, and we spent 10 cents for the movie and the rest to buy popcorn and candy. Before leaving, Uncle said, "Stay together and be good girls. I'll be waiting in front to pick you up. And don't tell Grandma I took you to the movies, or we might not be able to do it again." "Okay," we said. We were so excited about our spending money and seeing a movie that we did not even bother to ask him where he was going. And we find out later that while we were at the theater, Uncle went to Chinatown right here, this area, to gamble with his friends. And there were a lot of gambling places here too. We were able to repeat this outing several times without Grandma's knowledge, and we got hooked on the weekly serials of Buck Rogers and Perils of Nayoka, but it did not take long for our smart Grandma to get wind of our escapades. Early one morning, Grandma woke up after one of our nights out and said in a stern voice, "I want to talk with all of you. Get up and get dressed now." My goodness, what have we done wrong?" I asked Rosario and Rosita as we were dressing up. They just groaned and mumbled, still groggy from our movie outing the previous evening. Grandma sat us down at the dining room table and asked, "Where did this popcorn come from?" "Did Uncle take you to the movies last night?" I suddenly remembered that we had brought home our leftover popcorn and realized that we were in big trouble. Yes, Grandma, we went to the movies. "And where did your uncle go?" We each said, "I don't know." And Grandma said firmly, "You know you're not supposed to go out on a school night. Your uncle spoils you too much when I'm at work. Masyado ang tío niyo. Your uncle is going too far. I'm going to have to talk to him too." So Uncle did get into trouble with Grandma for taking us to the movies on school nights and gambling in Chinatown. And after a lengthy discussion, they agreed we could go to no more than once a week to the movies, and only after we have done all of our chores and our homework. Most importantly, we were to tell her everything we did together with Uncle and not to hide our outings from her again. On her days off from work, Grandma was happy to be off her feet and was ready to be entertained. I played the piano and violin, and my sister Rosita the violin, and my cousin Rosario joined in by singing along with us. And after dinner we would make up musical skits and perform them for Grandma and Uncle as they sat comfortably in the living room couch. Some of the tunes we sang dramatically were, see if you remember these songs, "Don't Fence Me In," "South of the Border," "Down Mexico Way," "The White Cliffs of Dover," and Philippine folk songs that Grandma and Uncle had taught us. Grandma always wanted us to end our program with the love song "Pambalina Wen" in honor of my father, who was still serving in the war and who had taught us the lyrics in his Ilocano dialect. Grandma and Uncle loved to dance the rumba, samba, and cha-cha-cha, and we taught them how to jitterbug. "Swing your butt and twirl around," we directed them as we clapped to the rhythm of Drinking Rum and Coca-Cola by the Andrews Sisters, playing on our old wind-up Victrola. They often took us to the Filipino family dance parties at Jenny Lynn Hall right here on Telegraph Avenue in Oakland. Watching Rosita practice the jitterbug for the big Saturday night jitterbug contest at Jenny Lynn Hall enthralled Grandma and Uncle. I stood by the phonograph, tirelessly keeping it wound up so Rosita could dance uninterrupted. Her hair was flung in all directions. Her skirt flew high up in the air, and her legs and feet stomped to the fast beat of Chattanooga Choo Choo. She ended with a stunning flying leap, landed on her 2 feet. She did win the contest, thanks to my aching arm. We shared many poignant moments with Grandma and Uncle as we were growing up. One night they danced cheek to Have You Ever Been Lonely? Have You Ever Been Blue? That we sang and played on the piano. They tenderly said to each other, Ina-ibi kita, I love you. While we played their courtship songs like Sentimental Journey, It's Been a Long, Long Time, and How Deep is the Ocean. You girls bring back wonderful memories for us, they told us as we bid them good night. Grandma wanted us to know and appreciate our heritage through music, dance, food, and cultural traditions. And despite her heavy work demands, she took time to teach us about some Filipino customs. Grandma made sure that we learned how to squat. She said squatting was important in a Filipino family for many reasons. We learned to squat to grate coconut for making biko, rice cake. Grandma held a grater attached to a wooden board on a slow stool, and she squatted over this to grate fresh coconut into a bowl. Now you try it, Grandma said. And we took turns squatting and grating, a tedious job, but it became fun when we sang Chichichirid Alibangbang, a popular Filipino folk song about beetles to the rhythm of the grating. But I'm glad I have a Cuisinart today. We had to play sungka with Grandma. She wouldn't let us sit in chairs for this game. She said squatting was the proper position for the traditional Filipino game, played on a long carved wooden board with holes scooped out to accommodate the shells. It's a 2-person game, and whoever collects the most number of shells in their home base wins. Sometimes I would lose on purpose because I would not squat for very long. Grandma, mapagod na ko. I'm tired, I would tell her. Whenever I played with my sister or cousin, we usually sat at the table. Some of the manangs, the women friends of my grandmother, who came to visit Grandma, sometimes brought their beautifully carved wooden mortar and pestle, and they would squat on the floor in a circle and pound and grind betel nut that they would keep chewing while they chatted for hours. They would laugh and talk as red beetle juice dripped down their chins. I thought it was an awful sight. Luckily, Grandma did not chew betel nut, but instead she smoked her cigarette with the lighted end backwards. And the lighted end was in her mouth. But when she talked, that lighted end did not burn her tongue. Sometimes I would wish it would, because sometimes when she scolded us and that cigarette was in her mouth, she managed to get that cigarette out and put the ashes in the ashtray before it started to burn her tongue. We also got a dose of Grandma's old wife tales from the Philippines. When I started administration, Grandma told me that it was good to have my periods last only 3 days and not any longer. So at the start of my period, she instructed, walk 3 steps down the staircase and bounce your butt and repeat this cycle 2 more times to guarantee a 3-day period. It did not work for me though, but Rosario claimed that it did for her. Thus we grew up with 2 diverse cultures, with Grandma strongly asserting Filipino traditions in raising us. At times, her tendency to rigidly cling to some of these beliefs caused conflicts between us. But the unconditional love she showed Rosita and me kept me from wavering in my affection and respect for her. After we left home to start our own families, we would return to celebrate the holidays with Grandma and Uncle. My daughters, Danny, Nikki, and Stacy, learned about Filipino culture through Grandma, especially through her delicious Filipino food. She was a fabulous cook. She was from Pampanga. Occasionally, she and Uncle would take care of them, my children. I could not find sitters during work days, so they would take care of my children. My children loved to listen to her talk in Tagalog with me and other family members, as they did not know many Filipinos in Berkeley, and the few Filipinos I knew spoke only English, and she was one of them right here in front. We grew up together, Elizabeth and I. I recall with much sadness Grandma's final years. She often brooded and cried for her family far away in the Philippines. She knew that she would never see them again before she died. We had grown up and she had no more little children to care for. Adding to her despair and despondency was her estrangement from her adopted daughter Rosario and her husband Tony, who often quarreled with Grandma over property and other family issues. In 1968, Grandma learned that she had lung cancer. She brooded all over her illness, but hated going to the doctors. She did not take care of her health and had begun drinking Rainier ale heavily for several years to kill the loneliness, pain, and stresses that she had experienced as a Filipino immigrant in America. The following year, my loving, beautiful, and brave grandma, who had become an alcoholic, passed away. Thank you.